Hi, Ms. Schickel here with an art tutorial. It is autumn, the fruit is ripening, and today I am going to do a tutorial on how to draw an apple and a pear. So I have here these, I think they're plastic, pieces of fruit as examples, because these autumn fruits are in season right now here in Northern Virginia, and it's so fun to go apple picking and to eat them and to make applesauce and apple crisps. So here we go. I am going to be using markers again with this to start, and then probably adding my color with crayons, just because they're fun. So I think I will start with the apple, and I'm doing an apple here that has red and green on it. Apples are fun to color because there are so many different colors of apples depending on the variety that you're getting. Some of them are starting to have some really fabulous names as well. So maybe the apple you draw, you're going to give it a special name, and it's going to be your cultivar of apple. So maybe you're going to go to your fruit basket and find your favorite apple variety that you guys get from the grocery store or the farm market, and that's going to be your inspiration. So our apples are generally considered to be round, right? When we talk 3D, they're a sphere. So we're going to practice a little bit of our coloring techniques to give us a 3D effect to it today. Not exactly a perfect circle though when we draw it, right? When we look at it here, it's almost a squished circle. So I like to start with a dot for the top and a dot for the bottom, and to make it nice and big, I'm going to put my hand in the middle here, sort of a fist, and put a dot at the top and the bottom. So I know those are kind of light to see, but once we get going here, that should be easier to read. So our apple, we're just going to come out. I'm going to come up a little bit on this side and over, and just bring it on down and around. And as I'm coming toward the dot at the bottom, I'm going to curve upward a little. And then I'm going to repeat the symmetry on the other side of it. And I'm going to come down below the dot so that I have to come back up a little. Whoa! My paper is escaping me. All right. So at this point, if I wanted to start putting some patterning on it, I could start to add some lines. And when I add the lines, instead of just drawing straight lines, I'm going to use curved lines. So anything on the right side is going to curve to the right. Anything on the left side is going to curve to the left. It's going to follow the contour of the outside of my apple here. So I'm noticing that the color on this one doesn't go all the way to the center, so I'm going to bring my line for where the red is going to be over. And it looks like this one goes all the way down, so I'm going to bring it sort of like that. And if I'm doing this side, this view, I've got sort of the same type of thing. It's a little bit of color symmetry here. And then I'm going to come down. And now here, I'm noticing it's a little bit of lined where the green and the red come into each other. So as I'm looking and it reflects, if I wanted to put a line just to add a little bit more, not reflection, but to help with some perspective, even though it's starting to look pumpkinish, it's not. If I wanted to mark reflections, that's where the light is touching here, I'm going to just draw little shapes. So my shape up here is kind of a triangle, and then I'm noticing another one kind of here, and another one here. And then I'm going to use the green to do the reflections that are in the green part of it. So I'm seeing a little reflection here and here. And this one, not exact, but And then I'm going to say a little bit of a reflection over here. I've moved it, and so the reflections have moved. They're not totally accurate anymore, like that. Now I would have to remember that when I color this in, I want those spots to stay white because they're the light reflecting on the surface. And I'm going to switch to the brown to do my stem. Stems on fruit are great. They're not perfect rectangles. They are curvy, they're wobbly, some are long, some are short. So I'm going to just come inside here and come up, and I'm going to make this one come up like this, and then I'm going to put a little circle on the end, and that's going to help give the illusion of 3D on there when I start to add color. So there's my apple. And then for my pear, its closest shape I have here is a cone. If you think of an ice cream cone upside down, right? It's a cone shape. It's rounded at the bottom and rounded on the corners, so more cone. So we're an upside down cone here. And I'm going to have them overlap. If I had done my paper the other direction, I might have been able to get more of the pear in here, or I could just have the pear hanging up top. Ooh, let's do that. I'm going to have the pear hanging up top. All right. As an artist, I'm thinking about all of my space, and I'm also sort of improvising as I go. So, all right, pear. I want my pear to be big enough, so I'm going to use my hand again and put the top, and it's a little bit bigger than the apple, so I'm going to bring it down to here because my apple was the same size as my hand. Now I'm noticing it's wider at the bottom than it is at the top, so I'm going to use, I'm going to come from the dot, I'm going to make a sort of wobbly line that comes over to here and curves up, and a wobbly line here. And I'm noticing my pear is not very symmetrical. My pear has got all sorts of bumps and lumps and wobblies, so I'm going to bring a wobbly, isn't wobbly a wonderful word, wobbly line up to the top, and then I'm going to make a curved line up here to make this part, right? I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm going to bring wobbly, wumpy line up to the top, up, curve, and come around. So now I've got that inside center where the stem is going to go. I have some great reflections on here, so I'm just going to do reflections with a curve here, and it's kind of got this other reflection on that side of it. And this is where, as an artist, you can sort of do a little bit of improvising and inventing, you know, and just decide how many reflections do you really need. I'm gonna add this one, and then I'm gonna call that a day for that, and then I'm gonna add a couple of lines to help with the contours. Okay, and I'm gonna bring that one just to make this lump line here. Okay, my stem, I'm going to do very similar to the stem I did on the apple. So I'm going to start here in the center, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to bring it way up so it comes off the page almost, like that. And then I'm going to attach it to a branch that's off the page. So I've cropped it out. And now I'm going to just use my coloring techniques to add my color. So for the greens, I'm going to be blending yellow, yellow-green, and green. And again, I am a huge fan of rub with the side of the tool. So if you have peeled away a crayon wrapper, you can do rub with the side of the tool. Now in here, since I've made reflections, I want to go kind of carefully because I don't want to cover up my reflections. I want them to stay as a contrast to the apple. and the pear color. And I like this half broken crayon because it's easier to get inside some of these spaces. Sometimes when you have a big full crayon, it's actually harder to get in the little spaces. I haven't peeled away my yellow-green yet, so I'm just going to peel some off of there. And this is where you want to just play with your colors and think about where the darker spot's going to be, where the lighter spot's going to be. So I may not blend all three colors into the entire pear, right? Whoopsie, sorry about that. When I look at it, there's spots that are a lot darker, spots that are more yellow, spots that are more dark green. So I get to play with the color and how I mix and blend. This one has an awesome opportunity for some stippling too. That pear has some great little speckles all over it. Ooh, crayon down. And paper down, something about gravity today. So I am going to make sure it's a little darker at the bottom. And this is where, remember I said sometimes it's easier when you have a smaller piece. This one's coming out of the side because it's such a big piece. I'm going to do a little bit of dark right up in the top there. And then I can use one of my darker browns for that little speckling, stippling. I want to make actual dots. I don't want a woodpecker. Right? And here again is where, as an artist, you get to decide how much of your pear gets speckles and how much does not. And then I won't have time today to finish the entire apple, I don't think. But I'm just going to start to blend and mix some reds in here. I might blend a little bit of pink. Sometimes they get really dark red on the skin, and you might blend in a little bit of purple. Sometimes there's a bruise and it's brown. Not as much fun to eat. That's more of an apple crisp or applesauce apple at that point, right? And here I'm going to use a little bit of value or vary the pressure to make it darker. So I'm just going to use same crayon, and I'm just pressing a little bit harder along the edges and these contours down at the bottom and on this edge here. And if I follow the shape of the apple, I'm going to end up with more of the contour line feeling, and it'll feel a little more rounded. And then think about, what do you want to put in the background around your apple? Do you want to have a worm or a snail? The leopard slugs are out right now. They're fabulous. They're crawling all over the place doing fun stuff. Are you going to put some leaves falling down around here? Apple and pear have a pretty basic leaf shape that they share with the cherry family. It's pretty much a sort of a football shape like this, and they're lovely blended with some yellows and pinks and oranges. And I'm just going to add in some pink in here because it makes me happy. So I could add in some veins and then add the color to it. So am I going to put some grass down here, or a basket for the apple to sit in maybe? Have some fun with some apples and pears and autumn fruits. Happy creating!